Yeah. Welcome to all of you. And on behalf of the ICGSS, I'm very, very pleased to open this year's International Forum on Global South Studies. Au nom de l'ICGSS, j'ai le plaisir de vous souhaiter la bienvenue au Forum international d'études sur le Sud global de cette année. En nombre del ICGSS, me complace darle la bienvenida al Foro Internacional de Estudios del Sur Global este año. And now it's becoming most difficult. En nome do ICGSS, tenho o prazer de vos dar as boas-vindas ao Fórum Internacional de Estudos Globais do Sul deste ano. So this is now the 5th time we organize this forum online, continuing our long cooperation that started 9 years ago in the BMBF-DID thematic network. And I would first of all thank all those who have made possible that the forum is happening. And these are, first of all, Edivaldo Gonzalez and Louis Nana, who've organized this wonderful program on proximities in human nature relations. The thematics is, as most times, very closely connected to research and projects we are doing here at Tübingen. So this is particularly close to the cluster initiative. But I think it's also a topic of very common interest to all of us. And this is demonstrated this becomes obvious in the huge number of participations and communications papers that have been suggested and that will occupy us during the next 2 weeks with panels in English, in Spanish, in French. I would like to particularly mention support from UNAM. Gabriela Ortuño has contributed a lot to organize this forum, some panels, and there are also Yvonne Sanchez and Armando Velasquez, long-standing partners who have helped organizing this year's forum. I would particularly like to welcome and to thank also Alberto Müller, who will do the keynote, even if it's not really my task to introduce him. But thank you for doing this, and I'll hand over to the organizers. Or first Sebastian Thies. I'm not really an I don't really know how it's going to be done.
Maybe Sebastian.
We should also, sorry. I forgot to mention the technical support from Laura Sanchez, first of all, who is here present and who has done really very much in not only the technical support, but organizing the infrastructure of this forum. So thank you very much to Laura Sanchez and also to the other student assistants who will help during the sessions.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll continue with some words of greeting. from the Latin American studies at Tübingen. It's fabulous to see you, Adalberto, in this context again. Thank you very much for opening this important this forum on an important topic, human-nature relations, not in terms of crises, as was our last year's title, but in terms of proximity, the way how to redefine or reconfigure human-nature relations, which have become unbalanced in many parts of the world because of the onslaught of neoliberal capitalism. So what I always cherish in our forums is that they produce a dialogue between people working on and from Latin America, Africa, and Asia. And I think this edition actually is the most diverse we have had so far. A lot of contributions that show that the idea of organizing a forum and trying to build bridges between Latin American studies, African studies, and Asian studies is very much alive. And the second impetus and impulse that the forum creates in a certain sense is that the contributions span various generations of researchers, from experienced researchers to a lot of early career researchers who contribute to what we are what we are discussing as well. So I think Louis and Edivaldo, you've done a fabulous job of creating this dialogue from over many parts of the world. It's a very interesting program, and I hope that we will that the technical support will work perfectly so that we can span the continent with our contributions from everywhere. Thank you very much.
Well, I think I can continue, Louis. Okay, I wrote something. First of all, I would like to thank each and every one of those involved in the organization of this event, the colleagues and friends who share their creative energies with us, because we know that these works contain part of their time, their interests, and finally their own lives. Thank you for giving us part of what you are inside and outside the written text. And in this case, if each forum is the illustration of the living organism that is the ICGSS network, this forum shows us the roots, the branches, and remain after the beautiful illusion of foliage. New cycles open, another cycles close. Winter arrives, and we must prepare us for summer. When we met to talk about the subject of this forum, we talked about all of the discussion we had in the classroom, the research that our colleagues were doing, like Cristel or Valeria, and the public debates that society demanded of us as a collective body. The natural thing was to talk about nature, about possible worlds, about extractivism, ecocides, but also about the care of plants and animals, of the diverse ways to thinking and living or feeling and sharing the earth. This forum is the result of collective efforts and is born of the desire to share and live beyond the fear that condemns us to live and die in solitude. And it is, to a considerable measure, a demonstration of what we are as a biological entity with hundreds of heads and arms. For this reason, this forum comes to complete the diptych that Louis Bani and I started last year. The first one focused on social, political, ecological crisis, and this one focused on the answer that had been given from nature studies to stop the spiritual, sensitive, and political tragedies we are living. For these 3 years in the beautiful madness in Honderlis House, thank you very much. Alors, je voudrais remercier la section francophone de l'ICGS de m'avoir permis de rencontrer l'Afrique et de découvrir véritablement le Global South, avec les échecs et les beautés que la pensée africaine a donné au monde. C'est une découverte que je n'aurais pas faite depuis le Mexique et qui serait incomplète sans l'Allemagne. Et merci beaucoup d'avoir partagé avec moi toute la sagesse qui circule dans les rivières du Cameroun, les poèmes qui sont chantés dans les jungles du Congo et le courage qui a allumé le feu de l'indépendance en l'Amérique latine. Et merci à mes collègues africains et allemands de l'ICGS de m'avoir transmis un peu de leur sagesse. Et merci beaucoup. Oui, profesor Susana. Y finalmente, considero para mí más importante, quiero agradecer a mis amigos y colegas del Over Seminar por compartir conmigo la lucidez de sus trabajos y permitirme cada miércoles reflexionar a través de ellos mis propias búsquedas e intereses. Gracias por permitirme aprender de ustedes en un diálogo cálido y furioso, como es el alma latinoamericana, que está dispuesta al sacrificio por un ideal que logre, aunque sea por un minuto, calmar el dolor y las injusticias que todos hemos experimentado en nuestras vidas. Gracias a cada uno de ustedes por sus trabajos que me han permitido pensar mis ideas, mis obsesiones literarias y finalmente mi propia vida. Gracias por todo esto, por cada uno de mis días en Alemania y ante todo les deseo lo mejor. Gracias. Thank you. It's your turn.
I will not be so as multilingual as Edivaldo was. And thank you very much for all of you who supported the organization of this forum. It's always a pleasure. It was a pleasure to organize with Edivaldo this year's forum as last year also. The idea, as Sebastian also always mentioned, was to bring new perspectives, to bring together in conversation new perspective on these human nature relations, relying on the concept of proximity instead of this dichotomy or this opposition between the human nature, culture, nature, subject, object we have in the modern thought. And in that way, the papers we received and that will be presented are really, really interesting, all aim to this objective, dealing with the question, for example, of care. It was one of the topic we have in this forum. So we received papers from all the global south, that is also important to mention, from Africa, from South America, from South Asia, and from Europe, where the global south also is present in Europe. As Edivaldo said, he met Africa in Germany somehow. Of course, Tübingen is in the south of Germany. Maybe it's not the global south, but it's a place where the south meets also. And the papers we received comes from Mexico, from Brazil, from Senegal, from Cote d'Ivoire, from India, and many perspectives in many languages. We mentioned Professor Adalberto Müller will present his keynote in a few minutes. But we also have a keynote from Professor Babacar Diop, Mbaye Diop, next week. It will be in French, but it's a very interesting topic also on totemism, because it's really how people, the relation between human being and animals. And we also have topics about technologies and music also. And one of the innovation of this forum, I think it's important to mention it, it's this literary and artistic conversation we proposed. And these are, you have bilingual, French and English, and you have also the conversation in Spanish. So I think the program is very interesting, and I hope each one, whether you speak German, French, whether you speak English, whether you speak Spanish or Portuguese or both, you'll be served. And I can only wish a good forum for all of you. And thank you very much for joining us for the conversation. Jackie, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, everyone. And I believe I have the floor for just a minute or two to introduce the keynote, right? But before I do that, I would like to, of course, extend my gratitude to the team at ICGSS that has so graciously put together this program that is fabulous, starting with this artistic piece on the cover page that just speaks to the title of this year's forum, and to say thank you for all the efforts that went to the organizing, and we're here to enjoy the forum itself. As I say that, I also would like to say it's my pleasure to have the chance to introduce our keynote to us. And this is Professor Adalberto Müller, who is a full professor of literary theory at the Federal Fluminense University, UFF. He is also a writer and a translator. He was a visiting researcher at different universities, including the universities of Minster and also Lyon 2 and Buffalo. During the year 2013, he was a fellow researcher at Yale University at the Department of Film Studies. And of course, there will be many publications to his name. The most recent one is the short story book, and I apologize for my pronunciation. I should have had a quiet time with Edovaldo to make sure that I pronounce this correctly. But the short story book that was recently published by Professor Müller is Pequena Philosophiae du Vaux. Well, this was published in 2022. And it is a translation of an annotated edition of Walter Benjamin's Thesis on the Philosophy of History. There is also by him an annotated translation of Emily Dickinson's complete poems, and this was done in 2021. There have been several events and editions organized by Professor Müller. One in 2022 was a critical edition of Mar Paraguayo, which was done by Wilson Bueno. At the moment, Professor Müller is preparing the release of Ivoraptor Cosmopoetica Guarani Mbia. And so we look forward to this, and I hope we will be notified when this is out. He's a research fellow with many entities, including FAPERJ, for which I would need help before I could relay this to everyone else, and CNPQ. And some of the projects in which he is involved is an example of one on Tupi Guarani cosmologies in Brazilian literature and culture. And to on this forum, we have the pleasure to listen to Professor Adalberto Miller speak to us about, is there anything to sing beyond the human? Climate catastrophe, literature, and indigenous studies. I welcome you, Professor Miller, to speak maybe for 45 minutes, and then we have some 45 minutes for Q&A, thereabouts. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Jackie, for this presentation. It's an honor for me to speak and to open this beautiful conference. And I need to start also thanking for all the people that made my presence possible here. Suzanne Gumegu, Edivaldo Gonzalez, who was the first one to talk to me about this conference when I was in Tübingen in April. I wish I could be in Tübingen again, but it's I was sad when I was told that it will be online, but it's okay. Maybe the next time I will be in Tübingen. And Sebastian Thies, that I finally meet, unfortunately only online, because the last time I was in Tübingen, he was not, he was ill. I'm glad to see that he's doing well. And also Louis Nana and Jackie Kosgei for the organization and for this presentation. So my talk is I gave this title for my talk, is there